Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask our panel members to come up. Would you folks like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name's Kathy Nabla. I have a son, Eric, who is 22 years old, and he is autistic.
I'm Josh Stern, and I have a job.
We're going to get into that.
My name is Sean Roy. You met me earlier, and I have a 37-year-old brother on the autism spectrum.
Great, thank you. Okay, I got my first question for you is, can you tell us a little bit about either your job or your son or daughter or siblings' job? You know, where do they work? What do they do?
My son has had a few different jobs. He worked at the Metrodome the last year that the Vikings were there. He took tickets. He does a lot of volunteering. He right now works at Little Caesars, and he likes it, but he wants to move on. He's been there a year, and he wants to try something new and different. He's a real go-getter. He doesn't like to have grass growing under his feet. So, yeah, he's doing well. He worked at Pins Bowling Lanes for a little bit. They were going to take him back, but then they had cuts, so they weren't able to. But yeah, he's currently looking. He applied just recently at Firehouse Subs. Is that the name of it? I don't know. I've never been there. But yeah, he's waiting to hear back from that. So hopefully he'll get a positive result.
Thank you. Josh, could you tell us a little bit about your job, where you work?
Yes, I work at the Unique Thrift Store off Winnetka. Pretty much all I do there is just like sort clothes, pick them up off the ground, and hang them back up. If I see anything hanging on the racks, I do the same thing. I also organize toys and shoes. And
Okay.
yeah, and if my boss says anything else otherwise, I will do it. Sorry if I answered the next question.
No, you didn't, but
Thank
I need a question for that answer. John, how about you?
My brother has a rather long and varied employment history, ups and downs, which we may address during the course of the panel. Currently, however, he is working at a place in Plymouth that makes high-end medical equipment. He's been there for about 2 years, and the great thing is that this is his job. He had been part of services with the supported employment provider. The supported employment provider found him the job, and the employer said, well, what are they doing here? We'll just take him. And so they basically fired the employment provider and hired my brother, who's now currently rolling in cash.
Okay, my next question is, why did your son choose work, and how does work contribute to his overall life goals and plans?
Okay, he chose to work. He was out of transition for a week, and he was going absolutely crazy with nothing to do. So he was real anxious to get a job. And he wants to continue working. He wants to move up and try different things. And the thing about about him is he changes his mind a lot. So he'll get to one place, and then, like I said, he stays there for a year. Then he gets tired of it. Then he wants to move on. And so it's going to be hard to keep him busy and find places for him to move on to. But that's his goal, is to keep working and make more money and find something he really, really enjoys.
And he enjoys the structure in his life?
Yes. When he wants to move out, too, soon.
How about you, Josh? Could you answer, why did you choose to work, and could you tell us how your job contributes to your overall life goals and plans?
Well, I chose this job because, well, I guess I like organizing things, and, well, I guess it's the only thing I could think of that would be good for a job. And
You like the money?
yeah, Yeah, yeah. The payment is good, but I'm pretty much working for the experience, and I like it so far.
Friendships?
Yes,
Get along with your coworkers? You're meeting
Oh, yeah.
people?
me and my coworkers and my boss, we all get along very well, like a big happy family.
As long as you keep doing what they tell your boss tells you to
Exactly. Yeah.
do. Okay,
As for how it helps with my life, well, all I could say is I probably wouldn't be here if I didn't get my job. Well, I guess I'm making quite a living off this. Man, it's really kind of hard to answer. Sorry.
It's okay, but the job is important to you.
Oh yes, most certainly.
Okay.
It means a lot to me.
Excellent.
And yeah, do you want to go next, or?
I'd love to. Would you like me to?
Sure. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
You're the famous one here.
Thank you.
I'm just here.
Well, we all are.
I would say in terms of my brother, it was always an expectation that he was going to work. My brother and I are 8 years apart, so I have kind of this view of his life kind of trailing behind, watching how my parents framed what the expectations were, and there was never not an expectation that he was going to work. It always was going to work, and that was it. I think if any of you have 2 kids, and if the younger one is the person with a disability, they may want to do what the older one does. And so he wanted to do what I did, and which is, I went to work and he wanted to go to work. I'm a firm believer that work really gives my brother an invaluable structure in his life. Without that kind of normalizing force of going to work every single day, he would have a lot of problems structuring his day. He doesn't always make the best decisions, just in terms of when to go to bed, when to take a shower, when to eat a meal. And employment has given him that sense of, this is when I wake up, this is when I go to work. He loves his job, hates calling in sick. He'd have a limb falling off, and I can do it. Go to work. So, we talk an awful lot about employment, and its benefits. But for my brother, really, that benefit is that stabilizing influence. That it is what other people do, which allows him to do what other people do. His age at 37, I think he recognizes that, and he appreciates that, and he takes it very seriously.
Great, thank you. Okay, the next question. Could you address some of the barriers your son had to overcome to make work a successful option? And what kind of help did you need?
Okay, we did have some barriers. At first, he wanted to pick his job. He loves football. And he played football in high school. He wanted to go back and work at his high school in coaching football. They weren't looking for anyone. We worked with Legacy Endeavors, who is now Dungarvan, and they started working with Eric. They do some in-home with him and get him ready to be based in the community. They took him on job interviews to a lot of different places. I think the biggest hurdle was trying to convince him that you're probably not going to get a job anything that has to do with football. So he still holds on to that hope, but I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, we're working on it, and I think he's slowly understanding that that is the case, that he is going to have to branch out, try other things, and trying new things is hard for him at first. But once he gets into it, he gets settled, and he seems to accept it. And then, like Sean said, he doesn't like to call in or say that he can't work if they call him and ask him. So yeah, it is another, like Sean said, stabilizing. It keeps their life in order, and it's something they can count on.
Did you need to deal with any issues around healthcare or access to
Yes.
other public benefits?
Yes, it didn't affect his health care. He is on SSI, and when he gets paid, he has to record those with the SSI, and they take off so much that it hardly even makes a dent. So it goes down a little bit, but it doesn't make your SSI benefits go away. So if anyone's thinking, I don't want to work because I don't want to lose my benefits, that's not the case.
Josh, would you like to share any barriers that you had to address in going to work?
Can't exactly think of any. Well,
Did you have any issues with transportation? Did you have any issues with disability benefits yourself and getting some advice on how to, no?
so far, no, but the only problem I've had with transportation is, well, if you guys heard of Metro Mobility, yeah.
Yeah.
Their timing can be unpredictable. Therefore, well, all the trips I had with Metro, they always got me on time. At least definitely before noon, because that's when it starts. But yeah, so far I'm pretty lucky with Metro.
Do you mind if I ask you a nosy question? Did you find this job on your own, or did you receive assistance in finding it?
Okay, yeah, I'll admit I did receive some assistance in finding it, yeah. Thanks to the Composure program. Primarily the woman over there. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, it was thanks to her that I was able to, well, we worked together to find this job, and we did a little bit of job exploring at the thrift store, and it all led to us talking to my manager, and it all worked out.
So it was nice to have somebody in your corner giving you a little bit of support.
Yes.
Thanks to
Yeah.
Liz.
It doesn't hurt to have assistance in finding a job.
Sean?
Well, I could talk about tons of different barriers that my brother experienced, but it occurred to me that he left school and got automatically shunted into this world of county services and supported employment. And he's a very capable young man. I'd say high functioning, autism, low functioning Asperger's. I mean, he doesn't problem solve very well, but he's a very hard worker. And I don't think his strengths were ever really recognized from the bat. It's like, you have autism, this is where you're going. And it took us 15 years, and it was an employer that recognized, wait, this kid doesn't need this. He can work without these pieces. And I just wonder how much we lost. For him, a never-ending cavalcade of service providers. And I've got a great deal of respect for the service providers. They helped us immensely, but some of them are not very well trained. Some of them are not just not very good at what they do. And so if it wasn't for the persistence of my parents to apply the consistent high expectation that he is capable, he would have been stuck in several situations over the years. We changed service providers and finally we found a situation. But I think, a message that I would say to parents out there is that, be very careful about the labels that we allow our kids to be applied with and how that affects what services they're going to get. Because my brother, I think, given the right supports, could have worked independently right from the get-go. No doubt about it. He's not a different man now than he was at 24 or 23. It's just that we put that label on him that he's autistic. Oh, he's autistic. He goes over there. Yeah. And right now it's just we're kind of get a chance to reflect because he's in such a great spot.
Can I reverse the order? I have one more question, and I'd like you to amplify on something. You're talking about expectations, which I think is something very important for the audience to hear. But what advice would you offer families and people with disabilities who want to make employment a choice?
You know, I do this for a living. I'm an advocate for people with disabilities, and I talk with families about this issue all the time. And I am a firm believer that the expectation that families have of their son or daughter is eminently impactful. I tell families all the time that no one is going to expect more out of your son or daughter than you. You set the bar for how the world sees your son or daughter. And if you walk into any given situation and say they can't do this and they can't do that, then that's the springboard upon which people are going to view this situation. There's nothing wrong with failure. There's nothing, I quit smoking 20 years ago, and trust me, I didn't just stop smoking and go, okay, I'm done. I went a couple weeks, couple months, it's a process, and we expect perfection out of our kids. So hold those high expectations, but give them the opportunity to risk and to fail, because you'll be there, and in the end, you'll find that those little risks and failures are what leads to that capacity for them to be able to be employed.
If I can add a comment to the point that Sean is making, study out of the University of Maryland, people with disabilities and their families who voiced that they wanted integrated competitive employment had a 7 times more likelihood of obtaining that outcome. These were youth with disability leaving high school. Josh, any advice that you have for the audience, for family members or people with disabilities who would like to choose work?
I mean, I thought a few hours ago. Now I can't remember it. Sorry.
That's okay.
All I can say is that don't give up on finding a job. The key is one of the many keys to success. If you can learn from your failures, well, you can accomplish a lot.
Boy, am I glad this is being videotaped.
Yeah.
Nice job.
I guess I would add that anyone, no matter what their disability, can do something. There is something out there for everyone. So don't just say, oh, they could never do this, or they'd be too slow, there's no way they could do that job. My son is working at Little Caesars, and he started out making dough. Then he was preparing sauce cups, and there's a position at the end called landing, and that's where the pizzas come out and you put them in boxes, and he said, I'll never be able to do that. Well, he was doing that within a month or two, and he said, well, I'll never be able to do the cashiering up front. Well, he's now doing that too. So he likes to push himself. It's a little bit at a time, but there's always something that someone can do, no matter what it is. So I would say get them out, even if they can't work, get them out in the community, take them to places that they don't get to see because they're sitting in 4 walls all day. Push for it. That would be my advice.
I couldn't agree more.
We want to take some questions from the audience. Does anyone out here have a question that they would like to ask any of the panelists?
I have a quick question for you, Josh, if that's okay. My understanding is that you began the process of looking for a job through Discovery while you were in your transition program, right? Your senior year of your transition program, or your 3rd year?
Yeah.
And so when you graduated with a job, is that right?
I did.
How did that feel?
Oh, it was amazing. Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of people can get a job even before high school. Well, and even during transitions. Sorry. Man.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, my head is not working today.
I think it's working pretty well. Any other questions? We have a question in the back?
When did you graduate? When did you graduate?
The question is, when did you graduate?
As far as I know, I graduated, I believe it was June 4th.
What year?
Oh, yeah, sorry, June 4th, 2015. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it was just a transition graduation. Well, getting my high school diploma, that is, so technically I graduated high school. Yeah.
Question in the front here.
I have a son who wants a community job. How do you go about finding?
So if I understood the question,
Who really wants a community job. He is in a day trading program. Goes online searching for jobs. How do you go about?
so the question is, your son needs some assistance
Right.
in finding a job. He's in a day training and habilitation program.
And goes online, searches for jobs, finds some.
Well, my first question for you is, does he receive any support to search for work with the program that he's in?
Minimal. Not timely, let me put it that way.
Okay, well, we should talk maybe a little bit afterwards here, but there are providers who do this work and do it very well. And I think part of the answer to your question is, as a parent, you need to step in and do a little bit of advocacy work and make sure that your son is getting the kind of support that he needs. There are emerging practices that can support people with even very significant disabilities in figuring out what they'd like to do. And as I shared earlier, we now have opportunities to customize jobs around who people are. You know, there's emerging technology, there's different kinds of practices, and there are ways of supporting businesses in finding the signature talents and skill sets of people so that they can be employable. And it's following his interests and his skills to where it will take you. But sometimes looking online in the newspaper is not the most efficient way to get there.
That's something that he's doing, brings those opportunities maybe to a
So he's
certain
bringing those back, okay.
Or I'm helping him with the application process. I try to have this day training place take,
I work for an advocacy program. Let's talk to you and see if we can be of some help. Other questions? Then they do a great job? Thank you, guys.
I just wanted to just kind of wrap it up with a quick thank you, everybody, for coming. So again, working at the county, we're working with people with disabilities and families on a daily basis. And one of the things that we know for certain is that there is a lot of information flying around out there about the Minnesota Olmstead Plan, the Minnesota Employment First policy, and all of these efforts around how do we make work possible. And tonight what we really hoped to do was we really hoped more than anything to just inspire you and make you realize that it is not only possible because of just who your son or daughter or yourself are, but it's possible because of all of these amazing opportunities that are happening now on the federal and state level and local level that are really going to incent things moving in this direction. So there's tons of stuff that you're hearing, misinformation, some of it is partial information, and tonight was really an attempt to just get you a good picture of exactly what's going on out there and exactly the direction that things are going. So again, I just want to thank Minnesota APSE and all of the other advocacy organizations that were able to bring this to families and people in Dakota County tonight. I'm really excited that we had this opportunity. So, one more reminder, just in closing, is of course to fill out your evaluations because we really do want to hear your feedback and we want to know especially what else would be helpful for you to help you on this journey of employment for you or your loved one. So thank you. Have a good night.